Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video is going to look at how to read the case studies. Now, this applies in any paper of the AQA Business A-level in which there is a case study, and you can use the tactics in here. For example, for paper 2 in A-level where there are 3 case studies. I'm actually looking here at an example of a paper 3, which is an exam that is entirely based on one case study. So my focus here is paper 3, but the skills and the tactics that I'm teaching you here or showing you can be applied in any AQA exam where you need to read a case study. So when you walk into the paper 3 exam, you are going to have 2 booklets on your exam table. There will be the answer booklet, which I've got here, and there will be also a what they call an insert or a the booklet with the case study in. It's quite handy that they're 2 separate documents for the purposes of this. In paper 2, it's all just one paper. But the first thing I would suggest you do before you read the case study is to read the questions. So I would go through, I'd read the questions, and I'd highlight the key term. So I would have a highlighter with me in the exam. So I need to analyse the advantages of ITV having a more diversified business. That's the first question. Then there's a question on the factors ITV might consider before deciding whether or not to sell the license for a show to an international buyer rather than trying to develop the program itself. Do you think that getting the program contact right for its audience is the most important element of ITV's marketing decisions? So we're going to look at the marketing decisions that they've made, particularly probably in relation to the 4 Ps or the 7 Ps. To what extent do you think that restructuring at ITV would inevitably have faced opposition? Okay, so I'm going to be looking for information about restructuring. To what extent do I think that Adam Crozier has improved the financial performance of ITV sufficiently to justify his earnings using relevant calculations? And then finally, final question, key element is to generate more revenue from the growth of the digital business. Do the opportunities offered by digital technology always outweigh the threats for businesses? Okay, so this final question is about digital technology. It's worth pointing out, of course, that these first 5 questions are all specifically about ITV. This final question on paper 3 is about all businesses. Okay, so you've got the case study about ITV, but the context of the question isn't actually ITV, it's for businesses. So that's just worth remembering. But it's kind of going off a little bit off topic, which is reading the case study. So now that I know what the questions are, while I was reading them, I would have, at the top of the case study like this, I would have transferred those key terms up here. Okay, and I would have written them down. And what my brain is now doing is I know what the questions are, all right, I might not remember them exactly, but now I've got in my head that there's a question about diversification, there's one about licensing, it's marketing decisions, isn't it? I'm going to be looking out for information about marketing as I read through the case study. And now as I read the case study, I can read it purposefully because the answers to the questions are in here, or at least the application that I can use to answer the questions are in here. And what I'm going to do as I'm going through and reading this, and you can pause it and read the information if you want, but this, I've got information about the low share price, the advertisers were reducing their spending. This can help me with that question on financial performance. There was a question on restructuring. Okay, so I've got information here about the structure of the organisation. I would be reading this relatively quickly because it's in the exam situation, but I would be trying to kind of take on board what it's saying. But as I'm reading it, I'm looking for information on these questions. When I get to this paragraph, I see that they've got restructure here. Restructure is one of the key terms here, so I've put restructure in there so I can see it clearly when I get to question 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to need this information. All right. They're talking here about extending the product life cycle. So this is information about the marketing mix, product marketing decisions. This is going to be useful for me when I get to question 3. So we've got a question on digital business, don't we? So I'm just, what AQA are quite handy at doing for you is they put the question in, they put a key term in the question, and then you can see those key terms cropping up as you're reading through the case study. Now this is going to make it much easier for you to find the information, to absorb the case study, because you know what the questions are that are going to be asked, so you can focus your reading, and then when you come back to answering the questions later on, you'll know where the application is. Just a couple of other things on reading the case study, particularly this paper 3 one. It is quite a long case study. Remember to look on the back. On this particular example, they've only got 2 pages of information. On other examples that I've seen, there are sometimes 3 pages of information with some particularly useful information on the back here. So do check all of the subject booklet to make sure you've read the whole case study. And I hope that little tactic, read the questions before you read the case study, and as you're reading the case study, just jot down where the information that's going to help you answer the question is. It's going to make your it's going to save you a little bit of time in the exam, but a little bit of time is crucial, and it should allow you to find the application really quickly that will make you have a good and focused answer.